we're back.
Oh, are we ever?
The fourth and final round. We've got a heater.
We've got round 4 All-Star Zachary Creemer on Affinity versus Connor Sloan on Burn.
Aspiring shampoo model.
Yeah. He needs to put his hair up and square up. Get ready for this fight.
The handsome John Douglas has been waiting all night to use that line.
All night.
It's his new favorite tagline.
It is a very good tagline.
So this is going to be interesting. Zach has played this matchup from both sides. So he, can estimate where the burn deck is and
Pretty
how
sure
much...
I've played this matchup from both sides.
Yeah, have you played burn and affinity?
Not well.
I know I have played both sides of this matchup, and figuring out where your opponent is, like, okay, what do they potentially have? What are their cards to kill you in the next 2 turns?
Mm-hmm.
Both of these decks have very compact lines of play where the decisions are few but meaningful.
Sure.
And so you can really go deep on just like 3 turns of play in this matchup.
And you're going to have to, because that's about all the turns you're going to get.
Yep. Absolutely.
All the meaningful turns, at least.
Absolutely. All right. Looking at 6, he's got a Goblin Guide and a land, so I'd start there.
He's got 2 lands.
But does he have 2 lands?
And he gets to scry one to the bottom. This is a good 6.
It is a great 6. So 18 for Zach. And this is not, don't be mistaken, folks, this is not an unstable basic mountain. This is an altered
Zendikar mountain.
Which is nice. Looks okay. From this distance, it's a good mountain.
And it is our spotter's favorite mountain art. Has that distinction. There was a time when my artistic palette was base enough to where this was my favorite mountain art.
You're so bad. Not very nice.
I know. I'm not a nice person.
That's okay, though. Not everybody can be a hero. So he's fetching here, and this indicates a lot of things. This tells me that he does not have Searing Blaze. Or, I mean, he could cast it right here.
He could cast it here, yeah.
But you're looking to narrow down the cards he could have in his hand.
Sure.
Anytime you're playing against his burn deck. So, he's an Eidolon.
Eidolon's good.
So Zach's fine with this. He's not going to cast a ton of more spells. I think what he's going to try and do here is resolve... Is this an etched... Or a...
Here's a Blinkmoth Nexus. So the question here is, does he want to suit up this Signal Pest and head in? I don't think he's got any...
Yeah, I think this is the better play.
Okay.
To play the Master of Ethereum. So he's going to take
Master.
2 on this, but now he's got a huge blocker. I mean, this card is really important because it can't... It outsizes the burn spells.
Sure. What is it, 5/5 currently?
Yeah, so Zach should get in for 1 here. Yep. That's the right choice.
Oh, man.
This is a poor choice.
Not a fan of this one, are you?
No.
So it's a 2/2. It's a blocker.
So he spent 2 life to save himself 2 damage. And make the Master 1 bigger.
Does it give him lethal in the air next turn or something like that? I don't see it.
Let's see. 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so I would just activate the Blinkmoth and suit up here and just get in for all the damage.
Every damage.
This is where you're going to attack with the Memnite as well. This is where your Memnite play is going to pay off or not.
Do you play this Ravager in hand before combat?
Negative. Because what he's going to have to do is he's going to become required to block the Master of Ethereum, and he's going to take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the air, 9 in the air, and so blocking the Memnite becomes really good because it saves him 2 more damage. Because going to 4 is within Galvanic Blast range.
Oh, sure.
So he has to keep himself above 4. So the 9 I calculated, that was just very fast math too, so I could be wrong. The 9 I calculated plus the 2 on the ground puts him to 4 exactly. And 4 is an operative number against the Affinity deck.
Connor with Lightning Helix in hand.
Yeah, so he could be factoring that in, but you're going to take 2 from your Eidolon if you want to get it before blocks.
Well, if he's tapping all this mana to attack, then you're probably fine just blocking the Eidolon, because you're not going to survive next turn.
Sure, using the Eidolon as the blocker. I know, I'm just saying if you want to Lightning Helix the flyer.
Oh, sure. That can't be the right call, though.
Oh, I didn't even calculate the battle cry damage. 5, 6, 7, 8. 2. No, I count 9.
And go to 5.
Yeah, so he chooses to go to 4. Okay, so Zach can't do what he just did. So, like we talked about priority, I don't know that we should back him up here. But he said, do you have any effects before damage? And Zach has priority first.
Right.
So if you ask your opponent that, you're assuming that they have...
That you've
given up priority. So you can't take it back. You can't, can't go back at that point. Yeah, so the cranial plating falls off.
Yeah, you can't do anything there. Would a land have changed anything off the top? He gets a Lightning Helix.
For the burn deck, I would have Lightning Helix the flyer. Because you take 2, but you save all the cranial plating damage.
Yeah. But are you winning that game when you're Lightning Helixing his creatures? And you're not actually dealing with the biggest threat, which is the Master of Ethereum?
Yeah, I mean, my line would have been to use the Eidolon to block the Master of Ethereum, Lightning Helix the flyer, and then you take 4, 1 from the Signal Pest and 3 from the Memnite, because it's +1 and then the Battle Cry is +1.
You would probably just block the Memnite too in that case, right?
No, because it doesn't matter if you trade off the Memnite.
Okay.
I mean it matters. Like you go to 11, 13, but you want the creature back to block the Master of Ethereum the next turn.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
And so then you're stuck with killing whatever has the cranial plating on it.
Right.
So it's not a good spot to be, but you put Zach in this situation where he has to produce on his draw step every turn.
Sure. Is there a draw there with Connor's blocks that wins him that turn? Because it's clear that he's not going to survive another attack phase.
No, I mean, not that I can think of.
So he goes end of turn, Boros Charm, And then his hand is Lightning Helix, so he can deal 6 more if he draws a land.
Yeah, what was Zach at the end of the game there?
Like 10, I think.
Sure.
Alright, so spinning a Rift Bolt's a solid one to start.
Yep, that's always a great way to start a match.
Zach was at 8 at the end.
Okay, so Connor has 2 more lands in hand, which isn't the best. And Zach gets another great... This is a great start. So the Signal Pest is susceptible to burn here.
Sure.
So it might catch a Lightning Bolt.
I would be more concerned about a Searing Blood I think I saw in Connor's hand.
Yeah, is that what he found?
That's going to be very good here. Effectively killing 3 creatures.
Yep.
Or at least shutting down 3 different creatures.
Alright. You're going to pass. Yeah, so Searing Blaze is in his hand and Searing Blood, so he's going to have his choice.
Probably Searing Blaze here if he's going to have to fetch.
Right.
There's definitely no guarantee of a 3rd land in these burn decks.
Absolutely. So let's see what conclusion Zach comes to looking at his hand. Moves to combat. Connor lets it happen, which isn't the worst because by letting Zach cast his turn 2 play, he's going to allow himself to Okay, this I can't agree with. So what he did there was he left a mana hanging, and that is not what you want to do. So what he could have done is fetched, Searing Blazed, killed the Signal Pest, and then untap, and he has Searing Blood for whatever's going to wear the Cranial Plating this turn.
Yeah.
So put Zach at the same 14.
Sure.
And it lets you do, like, it opens up your lines of, like, he has a Monastery Swiftspear in hand. It opens up, like, Swiftspear Bolt in later successions where, like, Zach might be shields down.
Sure. Another Ornithopter here.
Yeah, I mean, the best card he could possibly have is, like, a Wear Tear to, like, get this Cranial Plating off the board. But okay, so you can get basic mountain. Plays. Put Zach to 11. So now Zach has Edge Champion. That's
going to be tough for Connor to deal with, but
Edge Champion wearing Cranial Plating is not an easy thing to deal with. If he can handle the Cranial Plating, it makes it manageable because you're way faster than 2 damage a turn.
Absolutely. Here's the champion. Protection from red as well as every other color. Gets to untap here. All of a sudden this Monastery Swiftspear is not very good. I think he has a Boros Charm in hand, which he can run out of
He might have 2 Boros Charms, which is 8, and that makes any land a live draw.
Sure.
There it is. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is going to deal him 8 damage. He only has 2 turns. He has this turn and another turn, because you can assume Zach can make... Well, you can make these Ink Moss creatures. Yep. So here's 9. Okay, Searing Blood puts him at 8.
So he's dead next turn?
Yep, he needs...
Goblin Guide's not going to cut it.
Nope. He needed to take that, Boros Charm him, untap, draw another... Does he have 2 Boros Charms in hand?
Yeah.
So he needed to take that, Boros Charm him at end of turn, untap, draw another land, Boros Charm, Lava Spike. The line of killing the creature doesn't win him the game. So he keeps him alive.
Yeah.
But he's still dead on this turn regardless.
So he just passes here. You have to let Zach assume you have the burn spell and then not activate his land.
Yeah, Boros Charm him, and you get a redraw on the line I just described.
Right. This is not good. Don't. Oh,
nope.
Don't do that.
Nah, it's not helping anybody. So I think the challenge is with Connor's the way he's thinking about the match, and when you think about how the match is going to play out, you have to think about whether or not you're going to be able to. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be thinking about losing the game when you're playing the burn deck. You have to be thinking about winning the game.
You have to be doing winning math, not dying math.
Right. So Zach's going to get the free block on the Swift Spear and no blocks on the Goblin Guide. And here he's going to play his 7th artifact. I'm sorry. 3, 6. Yeah, his 7th artifact to make his Edge Champion have 9 power. And so all he has to do is turn his guy sideways here. Yep.
So that'll do it.
That wraps up your Hop Modern action for this week.
Yeah, that last match was a little rough for Connor. He definitely had outs, but he very, very much so limited the number of his outs by the way he played that.
Concur. You have to. I mean, Cranial Plating is probably the best card against the Affinity deck because it turns for the Affinity deck against burn, because it turns every possible creature into
a huge threat.
Into the biggest threat in the game. And so you obviously can't keep up with killing every creature with the burn deck. So you have to.
And we saw that he started playing around the Cranial Plating on turn 2 when he didn't Searing Blaze.
Right.
And didn't turn that.
Right. That's what he should have done.
Yeah, if he would have done that, and then we're on a totally different course. He's plus some amount of life. Actually, I don't think he'd be plus any life because of the way he did it before attacks.
Right.
Or after attacks that turn, before attacks on the next turn.
I like him doing it after attacks because it keeps Ravager in check.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, but I definitely think he should have Searing Blaze that turn. And then you get one more turn of interacting with the Cranial Plating the next turn when he attaches it to a land.
Right, because you have the Searing Blood.
Right. And then from there, you've got a very easy path to victory of just Boros Charm, and then any other burn spell.
Right. He didn't get a third land that he needed to win the game, but...
Correct.
So this burn deck, deeper than it looks.
Oh, absolutely. Don't let anybody tell you it's easy to play.
Yeah, if you want to get into Modern, this is a deck that's cheap to build, and it has a good... I mean, if you play 2 local tournaments a week, I think it would take you 3 months to get to the point where you're making 95% correct play in the burn deck.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's pretty deep.
So, I mean, that's what I want when I build a deck. If I'm going to spend the money on something, I want something that's going to give me access to a lot of interesting play for the longest period of time. And
absolutely.
So we'll see you back next week. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow. We've got standard action.
Yeah, some lukewarm standard action for a Wednesday.
Thursday, we're back to Modern.
Thursday back to Modern, then we'll be back here for F&M, which is probably going to be some more Modern for you.
Yep, absolutely.
And then back to us on some hot Modern action Tuesday night at GameSwap Mason. Till then, smell you later, nerds.
Smell you later.